call our meeting to order. It is 7:10 p.m. and I have a motion moved by Councillor Citizen, seconded by Councillor Morrow. The council adopts the agenda of regular meeting RM05-2021 as presented, unless anyone has some additions or suggested changes. All right, none. Then it says presented. All those in favor of adopting the agenda? And can I get the vote for Deputy Mayor Antoine? Are you in favor of adopting the agenda?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, and Councillor Hassan?
Yes.
Okay, that's 7 in favor, none against. Thank you. Motion's carried. Any declarations of interest in any of the items in this evening's agenda? Okay, Councillor Morrow.
11D.
11D, Community Housing Plan Project. All right, so noted. Anybody else? All right, well, if you do notice anything, you can always bring it up at the time. There are no councillors absent this evening, so I'll just put that motion aside. And there are no delegations this evening either. So we'll move on to number 7 on our agenda, adoption of minutes. And the first motion we have concerns the minutes of RM01-2021. So I've got a motion moved by Councillor Morrow, seconded by...
It's illegible, it might be mine.
Councillor Citizen. Did council approve the minutes of RM01-2021 of January 4th, 2021 as presented, unless someone has something to note? All right. Presented then. All in favor? And Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Councillor Hassan?
Yes.
Okay, 7 in favor, none against. Motion's carried. Second set of minutes, 7B. I have a motion moved by Councillor Citizen, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that council approve the minutes of RM03-2021, February 1, 2021, as presented, unless anyone has some comments to make about that. All right, none noted. So all those in favor? I've got 5 hands, and Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
And Councillor Hassan.
Yes.
All right, that's 7 in favor, none against. Motion's carried. Third set of minutes, Committee of the Whole meeting. Motion moved by Councillor Morrow, seconded by Councillor Citizen. The council approved the minutes of Committee of the Whole 02-2021 of February 8, 2021 as presented. Any discussion, comments, changes? All right. Seeing none, show of hands, please. All those in favor?
I wasn't at that one, so I'll just abstain, I guess.
Okay, that'll be 1 abstention. And Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, and Councillor Hassan?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 6-4, 1 abstention. Motion's carried again. Last set of minutes, regular meeting from February 15th. I have a motion moved by Councillor Citizen, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that council approve the minutes of regular meeting 04-2021 of February 15, 2021 as presented. Discussion? Any changes, alterations? None? Okay, all those in favor?
I wasn't in attendance, so I'll abstain.
Okay, 1 abstention so far. And Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Councillor Hassan?
Yes.
Okay, 6 in favor, 1 abstention. Motion's carried again. All right, we're on to reports. Mayor report. The one thing that was done on behalf of the village, myself and the deputy mayor, we both attended a somewhat abridged version of the NWT Association of Communities AGM this year. It was all held virtually. We basically attended by regular phone and Zoom call. They got through the business of the association, and they had some of the things that they normally do. They had the entire cabinet this time, which was available for questions. They were all mostly pre-submitted questions, so I thought that the Premier and the ministers got off a little bit easy there. They could see the questions coming at least, but I guess it's all in information sharing mode there anyway. And we got updates from our insurance company. We got some updates on from various government departments. The ministers talked about some of the things that they're doing and trying to accomplish. So it's a good get together. Certainly not the same as when we spend the 3 or 4 days and you have all that networking going on, face to face. Sure looking forward to that next year. And as it was, we basically did about 2 days, a morning, an afternoon, and a day. But it's a little draining on the Zoom and the phone calls, but we got her done, and it was good to see some familiar faces and listen to the comments. Deputy Mayor, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you did okay. Thank you.
Okay. So there we go. I'll turn it over to SAO Corrigan.
Thank you. Just one thing to note on our ISIP chip seal funding.
Excuse me, Mayor?
Councillor Hassan.
Yeah, before you go to the SAO's report, last time when you guys attended this meeting or this meeting, there was a discussion and was a motion that in a resolution that passed for the bridge study. Did anything been discussed this time, or?
What happened with that, Councillor Hassan, is that it's been retired because in the eyes of the government, they accomplished what it was that they were asked to do, which was to look at a bridge study. And what they say they've done is they came over, did some work, and now have the information to basically be applying for the money to do the bridge study. So that seems to be their position is, yes, we are going ahead with the bridge study. They're applying for the money. So there was some work done by the GNWT when they sent over their engineers here to do some preliminary information gathering, and I think that was used to help put together a submission. So they're kind of either in the process or working towards getting the money to do a bridge study. So yeah, that motion or that resolution has now been retired because the GNWT is moving in the direction of doing it. So that's kind of how it works. These resolutions, they're passed by the NWTAC. The government responds if the answer is not, quite the one that people were looking for, or it's only a partial answer, or maybe the GNWT is not ready to really address it. It usually stays. But they're always getting new resolutions, so they like to retire some when they see that the government's actually done what was asked. Because we didn't say build a bridge, we said do a study.
Okay.
We just have to keep on top of them now, that's all.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so back to SAO Corrigan.
Yeah. So just one thing to note on our ISIP chip sealing application. We didn't get an official notice yet, but I spoke with MACA about our funding for the second layer of chip sealing, and it won't be approved. So what we'd like to do, what we intend to do, is plan to go ahead this year and spread the costs over the next 3 years. And so what I'd like to do is go ahead with that planning and bring a revised capital plan back to council in the next couple of weeks for approval.
One thing I believe I heard at that NWTAC is that there's more gas tax money coming this year.
There seems to be a lot of extra money.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I mean, that would be good
Yeah.
towards a project like this.
because we had 25% of our own CPI budgeted, because we had hoped ISIP would cover 75%. So if we spread the cost over 3 years, it's a little bit more. We also got that extra 147,000 in CPI. So it's not too much more for this year, and we just have to work it into the next 2 years as well. So it's doable.
Okay, that's
And
good.
do you get the feeling that with this money that we're applying on, that it's there's so much per community, or well, we got enough last year, we don't get this?
No, I don't think so. I've had a few conversations like that, and I think that it just depends on the project.
Okay, so it doesn't stop us from applying on all the other projects and
Exactly.
moving ahead with
Well,
spending in other areas.
on the other projects, we should get a status update within the next few weeks. And what I've been told is that if they're moving on to the next, so the territorial powers that be are reviewing them right now. And once they pass that, they go to the feds for review. And what I've been told is that if they go on to the next level to the feds, that 95% they're approved. So we should know in the next few weeks for the most part.
And then we'll look at changing our capital plan forecasts based around this project. Yeah, I mean, I think that moving ahead with that project is pretty important because of the timing. With the chip seal, if we don't put the second coat on many of these streets, we're going to get a shortened lifespan. And from what I understand, when you put 2 coats on in short order, you basically get 7 years out of your chip on average, let's say. But if you don't, you might only get 3 years before it starts to degrade significantly. And that would just drive up our costs and waste the initial investment.
Mhm.
So I think we have to almost bite the bullet. The fact that we can spread it out over 3 years, it's at least that's a feasible option. But people have waited a long time to see their roads chipped, and I don't think they want to see them, starting to go downhill right after we waited this long. Anyway, that's just a comment. Will anybody else have anything to say about that bit of information? Okay. All right, well, we'll wait for the official word, I guess, and then the changes that we might have to make on that. Any questions for the SAO? Okay. All right, tabled items and old business, we do not have any tonight. Committee minutes and recommendations, we don't have any either. Under new business, we have some rates to look at. And this is a policy change. Something that actually, I guess, administration could do without us really being notified, but it's a significant change, so we're looking at it now. And that's the rates for rentals and services policy amendments. And maybe I'll just turn that back to SAO Corrigan for a little bit of a overview of why we're doing it and what this entails.
Okay, so there's 2 main changes. Well, I'll go over the simplest one first, which is the fitness center change. What we're proposing is to remove the annual corporate rate for $2,500, which would give a corporation up to 5 fobs. We've only had 1 or 2 since the fitness center opened, and currently we have no one using the corporate rate. We got a lot of requests for cheaper corporate rates. So what we're proposing is to have a corporate rate for $1,000, which will give a business up to 2 fobs for $1,000. So that's this is the simplest of the changes. So if there's any questions on that, otherwise I'll move on to the other 2 changes. are kind of connected. What we propose to do is change the fees for the recreation center. And if you're looking at a color copy, you'll see it. You'll see everything in red that we'd like to remove and everything highlighted in yellow that we'd like to add. So the rates for the gymnasium and the small hall and the kitchen in the rec center have been a little bit confusing. So what we're proposing is to simplify them and up the cost a little bit. Right now, another change is right now, if, for example, let's say Court are renting the small hall for Court, right now they pay, I think it's $500 a day for the hall and the kitchen. And what we'll also do is, because of the noise from the gym, the rec staff will also cancel programming in the hall, but Court don't actually pay for the hall. So one of the changes we'd like to make is that if they want quiet in the hall, if any user group is running a meeting and they want the hall to be quiet, then they need to rent the hall as well. And so what this will do, using Court as an example, this will bring our revenue, with the changes in fees, this will bring our revenue from one Court day from 500 up to 1,500, which is still, I understand they pay a lot more than that in some communities too.
Really?
The majority that will be affected by these rates are government groups that use the facility for meetings. Most of the not-for-profit organizations that use the facility put in a request to have the fees waived anyways. So this will increase our revenue by, I don't have the notes in front of me, I believe it was $20,000 to $25,000 per year. And we're proposing to have this change take effect May 1st this year. Now, for the increased revenue that we'll get for 2021, what we're proposing is to use that money to remove fees for children for the pool season, to make the programming in the pool consistent with programs in the rec center and skating. The kids don't have to pay for anything. So I'm trying to keep that consistent and open up for every child, whether they can afford to pay or not.
Oh, that would be nice.
So that, and that's highlighted under pool fees. Yeah, so basically it's, we just removed all the fees for children and just added all children under 18 for all programming to be free.
Mhm. And for the not-for-profits that book the hall, is it now going to be the policy that if they need to be bumped, they can be, if a higher priority situation, like if we need the hall for something more important than what they booked it for, and they haven't paid, are they bumped? Will they sign something that says, realize that by getting it for free, there's no obligations that the village is undertaken, other than its best efforts basis. But if we need that hall for something, we're taking it.
I sort of feel like that agreement might be best applied for each individual case.
Right.
Like, for example, let's say the hall was booked for the treaty celebrations this year, which is it's already in the planning stage for a year. And when the time came for the treaty event, which we're not charging LKFN for, we don't want to also say, well, you might be bumped.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like that might be
take it
better.
on a case by case.
When the request comes and council approves, if council approves, well, at that point, it could be approved with the understanding that it may be cancelled.
Right.
That'll be my suggestion.
Because there's some events maybe held by not-for-profits that certainly could be rescheduled. I feel as though some would be, certainly not one where people are coming in from out of town. But just so they understand that there's, the obligation is not really on us.
Mhm,
We'll try,
mhm.
but, and that way, it doesn't, set up false expectations on anybody's part.
That's,
Yeah, oh, who's,
Yeah.
Councilman McPherson?
Yeah, well, that's all well and good, but, I can see throughout the year, not only LKFN, they've got, the Dene Nation, DFN, until such time that we might have a conference center in our building, but, to have that in there is a deterrent for booking or asking for, for in-kind donations. And, for the Treaty 11, the only reason we probably secured the hall was just weather permitting.
Mm,
Otherwise, otherwise everything would be done
Yeah.
down at the harbor. But
Yeah.
I don't know what the purpose is, Mr. Mayor, for that kind of a statement, because it seems I look at it as, okay, well, if somebody comes with money, then you're going to say, sorry guys, you guys are not allowed to hold that event.
Yeah.
So
I guess where it's coming from is that recreation center should probably be used, the highest priority should be for recreation. Like, that's one of our core mandates, is to deliver a recreation programming to the community. Now, it's nice to be able to have space for the not-for-profits and people that don't pay and they want to hold some kind of programming there. And I understand if there's no other recreation programming that we're holding, then sure, it's better to use the space than not use the space. But, we gotta kind of stick to our core mandate. In the case of government, when you look at, say, the Justice Department coming into town, we basically have to shut our entire hall down, be at their beck and call while we run around, set up chairs, leave everything in place for them all evening so that nobody can use the hall. And we put ourselves out drastically for like $500. And that just doesn't make sense. We're not in the business of helping to put people in jail. That's the Justice Department. If they want, they can certainly contract with somebody to build a courthouse, same as they did in Hay River, Inuvik, Fort Smith. We don't have that here, but it's not our job to cater to them. I don't believe, like, we should be making money off that, and if we can put it back towards recreation. And there has been some discussion about using the money to, at least this would be a possibility. We're looking at a recreation programmer full-time. The reason why we don't have as many programs in our own facility is we don't have a recreation dedicated programmer. So these things are all connected, they're all related. I think government's got deep pockets for other communities. What does it cost them to run a courthouse in Inuvik or Hay River or Fort Smith, where there is no court, there is no judge living in Fort Smith, but they have an established relationship with the Salt River First Nation. And that entire big building that was built over there was built with a contract in place for the Justice Department.
yeah, well, if I may,
Sure.
with the new office complex, like I said, there's going to be a conference center in there, and we have been talking to the Department of Justice, so that alleviates some of the rental burdens of the rec center. So,
But we don't want to be too cheap either, because if we kept the cheapness up, you wouldn't be able to charge more.
oh no, don't worry about us.
We want to be market rate, right? We'll boost it up, and then
Yeah, so.
because we don't necessarily want the business. Let's put it that way. It would be better
Yeah. Well,
to have your organization doing it.
anyways,
Yeah.
let's get back to the
Hey,
topic at hand.
Okay. Councilor Hassan, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I noticed that I believe 1,500 this is very small amount of money that we cancel all the activities for our. This center is made for recreation. It's not made for justice. So I think we should add it more if they don't want to pay it. that's their choice. They have to find a better way to deal with their court. But 1,500, that honestly is not. That's very small amount of money that we charge them. I don't think we should ask them to pay less than 5,000. And that money, as you said, is going to go to recreation. And not only that, it's going to help them that we will have extra programs that will help the community members to be away from their courthouse or from their courts. So they have to support us, honestly.
Yeah, and I do understand Councillor McPherson's concern about the First Nations government renting the hall and being charged like a GNWT government department. While the rate is there, the request can certainly be made to forgive the rent based on the fact that basically the First Nation is the local government, and we're shared partners in this governance of the community. So looking at that would be like charging ourselves in a way, and so I think that would be something that could always be looked at.
I don't think that's an issue of the First Nations not being able to pay. I think we've been paying. We've never ever, I think through the Film Society areas, yeah, we asked for exemptions, but per se we've paid. So I don't think there's an issue with this. All I'm saying is that down the road there's going to be a conference center in our building, and some of these problems will be addressed.
Right.
You know, so yes, go ahead and increase. I agree. We've been giving a free show for how many years? Ever since that rec center was established or built. So I agree. Get them to start paying more until such time that we can charge them more.
We're going to send them to you.
Yeah, send them to me. We'll charge them double.
Okay.
I did not say that.
And what, 5,000, so.
So Mark's got a price
Charge
for
it
you.
just a little less, and so they'll go to you guys.
Okay. So we don't have a resolution, but
For the fee change?
for the fee changes and everything else,
Okay.
there isn't needed to be one necessarily.
I'd like it. It'd be nice.
Would you prefer that?
I thought I did on October, I
Okay.
guess not.
I didn't read
Same here, I didn't read it all.
Because the original policy was passed by resolution, so I feel like an amendment should be, this blank motion,
Okay.
an amendment should be.
Okay.
Sign something. And there's nobody else signed it. So
And then we'll make it
now I'm
effective
gonna
May 1st.
chair of
Okay.
the vision board.
Enough time.
Oh, well. I learned a lesson out of it.
Dot.
I'm starting to hurt.
I'll just make a point to say that if there's any other fees or any other changes you think might need to be looked at, we are in the process of reviewing all our dump fees, and so there'll be a whole bunch of changes coming to council again in the next month or so. So if there's anything else you think needs to be looked at, just let me know.
Okay, which date were you saying?
I think May 1st.
May 1st? 2021. Could I get a mover and a seconder I'll read the motion. Move that the village adopt the amendments to policy FA01-2019 regarding rates for rentals and services. I'll say a policy, a policy regarding rates for rentals and services effective May 1st, 2021. Can I get a mover? Okay, mover Marie. Councillor Lafferty, Councillor Morrow. All right, so those are the movers and seconders. Any further discussion on this? effective May 1st, so give people a little bit of time to get used to the idea. Won't really affect any of the not-for-profits, as I say. It's just mostly a government-oriented change. Okay, all in favor? Show of hands. 5. Deputy Mayor
Yes.
and Councillor Hassan.
Yeah.
Okay, seven in favor, none against. Motion's carried. All right, so 11B, naming of the water treatment plant to the Steve Squirrel Water Treatment Facility. And I've got a motion moved by Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Lafferty, that council approves the naming of the Village of Fort Simpson Water Treatment Plant to Steve Squirrel Water Treatment Facility. Yes, Councillor Lafferty.
I thought we were going to name a park after him, that we had talked about that.
Can I make a point?
Yes,
Okay.
SAO Corrigan.
This came about from a staff meeting we had recently, and it was a suggestion that came from staff that staff felt would be important, because Steve Squirrel put so much time and effort into that particular facility. We're replacing the siding or putting new siding on the building this summer, and staff feel like they would like to put, once the siding's up, put a nice big sign on the building saying Steve Squirrel Water Treatment Facility, and perhaps even have an unveiling during the summer. So it came from staff, and I said I'd bring it to council.
Okay.
Has it been mentioned to the family at all?
Yeah,
They're aware?
I spoke to Courtney about it. She was very, very happy about it.
Are we gonna be able to have a photo?
A photo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like in the sign?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For generations to come, they'll
Yeah.
know who Steve Squirrel is.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where the idea came from.
Yeah, because the name is great, but something that just says that Steve worked at our water treatment facility for like the amount of years that he worked.
Yeah.
That's a nice little story.
Maybe a little plaque. Maybe a little
Yeah.
plaque.
Yeah.
A little bio.
Yeah, when he
Yeah.
started and,
Yeah. That's really good.
Okay.
Courtney is very.
Celine here.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. I was the one that brought up the idea of naming the park after him, but I think this idea of naming the water plant, that include the other facility, the sewer, or only the water plant?
Just the water.
Okay, that's good. I think that's a really good idea. I think I really appreciate the staff doing that. I would also maybe suggest, and I'd like people's thoughts about this, that we put it in the Denejati.
Yep. Yeah, that bio, the sign can also be translated, even the water treatment facility. We should probably almost have signs on every one of them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe we could start with this one then, and Norwegian would probably be the best resource. He's one of our experts in this region of our language, so if maybe you can look into that and bring it back to us. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Good suggestion there. Any more comments? Okay, just so that we can move ahead with that project then, a motion moved by, Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Lafferty, that council approves the naming of the Village of Fort Simpson Water Treatment Plant to the Steve Squirrel Water Treatment Facility. And with those suggestions in mind, can I get a show of hands in favor? 5. Deputy Mayor?
I would vote in favor. I would like included in there that it'll be written in Denejati language too.
Can you, would you be okay with going ahead with the motion as it is, and then I'll bring that back to staff, and we can plan the name, the language changes for all the buildings?
Well, if we do it now, you won't have to come back.
Yeah,
You
Well, I think,
you
yeah,
gotta
we'll
consider the
try.
costs, the costs.
we'll try.
Yeah.
We're,
We'll do it on this one, and then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, sounds good.
but yeah, you're bringing up a good point there, Deputy Mayor. But, yeah, can I see that show of hands? 5, and Deputy Mayor?
Can you clarify what the show of hands is for?
5 in favor, of that, motion. But yeah, we understand that, administration will work to see if they can incorporate, the Dene language onto the sign. It doesn't seem unreasonable to ask that, so I mean, I don't see why not, but.
Thank you.
Before a final design is put up, maybe we'll take a look at it, okay? A draft of the actual sign so that the family and counselors and
Yeah,
staff can actually
Good.
put some suggestions into it. How's that? You get that commitment from
Yeah.
administration.
That's fine, thank you. Then I approve.
Okay. And Councillor Hassan?
Yeah, I voted for it.
Okay, so 7 for, none against, motion's carried. So 11C, and Climate Change Adaptation and Implementation Planning Committee. We've got a motion moved by Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Lafferty, that council support the appointment of Councillor Blank to represent the village of Fort Simpson on the LKFN Climate Change Adaptation and Implementation Planning Committee. Councillor McPherson, did you want to?
I'm
Give us a-
already on the committee.
Okay, well, what does it involve?
It's just, I think we'd be working with Scotty Creek, that they're doing the, what is it, permafrost studies, and
Right.
it's
Those
just,
university guys that
yeah,
come here?
it's just a working group that we got some funding that's going to be working with our Trinica, our coordinator. So I don't know, if there's no information regarding it. I can forward some information.
Okay,
I'm not sure when they need the committee established. I just got this today too at the office.
okay,
But we've been working on climate change for a while. We've been, the last year or so. So.
I know Councilor Morrow was interested in that committee.
Councilor Morrow, did you want to put your name forward?
Sure.
Great.
Well, why don't we just write your name right in there?
Celine here.
Yes?
Did we not receive correspondence, LKFN requesting somebody to sit on that already?
No, I circulated that to council.
Yeah, there was an email.
Yeah, that's what I thought. There was an email from the chief and council.
Yeah,
It's pretty straightforward.
yeah. I mean, it's good to have that representation on there, and it's got to be someone who's interested in those kinds of things too. Got the time. Councillor Hassan?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay. Well, let's have a show of hands if there's no more comments. All in favor of appointing Councillor
Being
Morrow?
here.
I don't know if you should vote for yourself, but
No, I thought the correspondence that I read, Clayton was interested.
he was volunteering at that time, yeah.
So what are we voting on?
Is there, just so that I can know whether to tell Councillor Morrow whether to restrain from voting, is there any honorariums or pay attached to that, as far as you know? Or is it just-
I could not say.
Okay, well, we, as far as we know, there isn't, so
Yeah.
you can certainly vote for yourself, because to me, this is just a community-driven kind of thing here, so.
Okay.
All right, so I'm taking it that everybody's voting in favor then, 5?
Yeah.
And Councillor Hassan?
I
Yes, and Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want me to count your vote or no?
I'll abstain.
Okay, well, let's, 1 abstention, and 6 in favor, so motion's carried.
Hey,
Yeah. So, Councilor Morrow will be doing that. And 11D, Community Housing Plan Project. Okay, you did mention you were in contact on that one. So I've got a motion moved by Councilor Lafferty, seconded by Councilor McPherson, that council support the Community Housing Plan Project. So is that a requirement of the NWT Housing Corporation that we pass a resolution in favor of it?
That request came in, do you know what?
Yeah, they're asking us to do the same thing from
Okay.
LKF and the Métis.
Yeah.
So,
No reason.
so,
that
and they've indicated that, the agreement would be with LKFN to get a coordinator.
Right.
And, with our internal talks, because, they're gonna be, going to visiting houses and doing some assessments, like hands-on assessments, we thought it'd be a good position for NOAA Enterprises
Right.
because they're a construction made there, so that's where we are. So the little committee is just gonna be as small as possible. And then we'll be working with the Housing Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're, like, I looked at their WAT plan, it seemed like they really had a lot of hands-on.
Yeah.
So one thing I did mention to them that's working with Fort Simpson is we got 4 levels of government, and so I really want to keep this committee small, so there's not too much confusion and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, when they had that meeting and, well, the one you and I were at.
Yeah.
And they said that, they wanted the community to come up with a housing plan. And yet they were the ones that were saying that there's a list with 25 people on a waiting list. I thought, well, there's a good plan. 25 people waiting for a place.
Yeah.
What more do you need to know?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But
So,
here we are doing a plan, and I guess it kind of identifies the priorities.
How many houses are we talking about?
oh no, this is just a community plan as to like what our needs are.
Oh,
Down the future and for where we are currently for retrofits, and because I think what they did with Nahanni Butte is they worked with Nahanni Butte, and Nahanni Butte got a bunch of money to renovate, I think, about nine homes.
wow.
So through this planning process, that's, I don't think it's just for the social housing, it's market housing, it's public housing, that sort of stuff. So I think they just want to see what our priorities are for the next few years.
Right.
And I'm hoping once we get the plan, there's going to be money attached to it to do all the work.
Yeah, has to be.
Yeah, so that's the next step.
They,
Celine here.
yeah, go ahead.
Am I on mute?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. So it says community housing plan project. So we do not have a plan, but we're going to work towards a plan. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is the village involved with the plan?
I didn't hear that.
Why is the village involved with the plan?
Oh, we're supporting the First Nation in doing the work, which involves hiring a housing
Coordinate.
planner, coordinator. That person will work with other groups in the community through a committee. And, it's just so that the whole community basically has some input into how this plan eventually looks, because it's not the housing program the housing survey will identify needs. Who knows what comes out of it, but it's hoped that the plan will be used by not-for-profits, government agencies, businesses to assist in applying for CMHC funding, the $60 million that is sitting there waiting to be used. However, CMHC has kind of a requirement, I guess, that they know that it's a community-driven plan. I mean, the community may say we need more market rentals, or And we need more low-cost, affordable houses, but we want them done however they get done. And in which case it opens the opportunity for private business. I mean, the plan is not going to stipulate who builds houses. It's just simply going to say, you know, we need 25 low-cost houses. We need some market rent places. We need so many people's houses fixed up. We need an elders facility.
Oh, yes.
There'll be all kinds of things identified. And through that process, at least we'll have facts and figures to back up applications, which at that point, anybody can apply. This housing plan will be public information once it's done. Nobody's keeping this as a secret. It's available to anybody.
The same organization was the one that got the contract to build those RCMP houses?
Housing Corporation, yeah.
It's the same organization we're talking about, right? That's going to do this planning?
No, well, they're assisting
No,
by giving the money
community is doing the planning.
to the community.
Did NOAA get an opportunity to bid on those contracts? Did anybody local get an opportunity to bid on the construction of those
It's got
buildings?
nothing to do with it.
Yeah, kind of a separate issue, but no, not as far as I know.
Well, here's, if you want to talk about
Well,
separate issues, let's talk about some similar issues then. Let's talk about having the planning process in the hands of a developer, a real estate developer. That's not community driven to give it to NOAA to do the whole thing so that they can be the community driving of the whole thing. They're developers, developing subdivisions, developing on that. That's not a community government. It's a corporation in the housing business. So that's what I mean, right? It's not, to me, the whole thing stinks. It stinks like a communist plan to overthrow the basic order of things. That's what it looks like to me. Because if the same organization that's stealing contracts from the community, right, the Housing Corp, I didn't know they were contractors, but they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are. So this is what I'm saying. What's going on here? Where's the separation of left, right, and center? I'm not seeing it. So there's this big unholy melting pot of business and politics that everybody's just going to spill into it. It's corruption. That's what it is. It's corruption, and it leaves the gray area for corruption right from start to finish. Sole source contracts. And you know who always loses in the end? The people who actually need the housing. The price of the housing scar, the social costs, right? It goes into meetings, planning. It goes into all of this stuff. And you know who gets to wind up living in a little substandard house in a little bedroom? Little kids. You know, little cold floors and, you know, the falling apart bathrooms, stuff like that. Little children that suffer from these types of activities that are taking place.
yeah.
I know it seems counterintuitive, but
No.
whenever you see an organization taking contracts like that, sole sourcing to themselves contracts from the RCMP without even a community tender, it's communism. That's what it is. It's a monopoly government.
Okay, Councillor McPherson?
I think there's some confusion as to NOAA doing the job. NOAA's not going to do the job. There's going to be a coordinator that's hired to work out of NOAA's office. NOAA's got really nothing to do with this. They're going to be working quite closely with the Housing Corporation and with the committee. So there is some accountability, and there's no contracts. There's no housing contracts coming out of this. This is just to establish a housing plan for the community of Fort Simpson. And to get away from those falling down toilets and little shacks that people live in, this is something that we can better the community with if we know what we're dealing with. Because right now,
Better planned
you
houses.
can go to the housing authority; they can't tell you what's going on in their own units, let alone. So, anyways, if the village wants to not partake, we can let the housing know. Or, you know, because it's just, they're just asking for one person from the village to sit on the committee. I don't know if that's
Celine here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever participated in First Nations initiatives like this on housing. So I don't know, maybe we could consider a letter of support for their endeavor and at this point.
I think the housing, I think it's good to be involved, maybe we'll get nicer houses out of the deal, because I know the planning that has been done before by housing was come from down south, and they've had some really poor housing, cold floors, like Randy says, shoddy bathrooms, and like some of these houses that were built years ago. My God, they're horrible. And it's time that we have better standard of housing, and this is what I'm hoping will come out of this.
Celine here. I have full confidence in LKFN taking care of the housing needs for the 70% of the population, and I have full confidence that they'll come up with a very good plan that I think the village could support.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
but
we
keep
should
in
be
mind, this is a
involved.
community plan.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
While it's going to be 70% represented by the indigenous needs, it will represent all the community needs. And there could be a lot of, let's call it overlap between,
Yeah, because you gotta.
I agree.
Yeah.
It is a community plan. If you pull down the numbers, exactly how much people are taxpayers and exactly how much people are not. So I would kind of hesitate. I still stand on the fact that I'm sure LKFN can do a good job there. They are in this community anyways, and I think we just should support them.
yes.
Well,
Point.
speaking from LKFN, we want to have the other two groups to work with us. Because I can see.
Yeah, thank you. I understand that.
I can see
If the village, if the chief and the council can write us a letter to say that, that would be great. Did I see one yet? I haven't seen one.
It's
No,
not,
but it
this is not LKFN's project. This is coming from the Housing Corporation that wants to work with the community of Fort Simpson and the various levels of.
Yeah, I understand that, but what does LKFN want?
LKFN is in the same
Do
boat.
we always, does LKFN always listen to what the GNWT wants you to do, or
No,
do
we want to work
we have
together.
a plan? I know we've always had a plan.
LKFN looks at it as though it's a community opportunity to improve the housing situation. And I can see the village's role in some of the planning, the land issues, land tenure, because these are all changing aspects with this housing corporation is making some changes as of April 1st.
Good.
Where
And I do believe that was the village's role,
yeah,
the lands and the taxes, and that was our role, and we've always helped out.
yeah. So, but to better understand the land tenure issues that we've had on dam land, that's going to be changing. There's things changing as of April 1st that this committee is going to be working with through the Housing Corporation. So it's just not an LKFN matter. So.
Okay, then I think I agree. There is land issues, there is treaty land issues, and there's issues for First Nations that I don't think we as a village have too much say over. So we probably need a clear understanding or something, just so we don't overstep our boundaries as a village.
The
boundaries of the First Nations and their lands.
They don't own any lands. What I'm going to suggest
You say, sorry, we don't own any lands, you said?
No, First Nations do not own any land. Land is entrusted to them by the federal government. The only time that First Nations will own land in the Northwest Territories is if you settle your land claims. But I'm going to suggest that we bring this back to the Housing Corporation and get some clear answers from them as to really what they want this committee to be comprised of. I can do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're claiming that they're for the benefit of the community. They didn't even give an opportunity to bid on those contracts for the houses in the community. It's just bizarre. It's preposterous. It's like somebody telling you, "Oh yeah, we'll get you next time, there, buddy." don't worry about it, we'll get you next time.
Which houses are you talking
Those
about?
RCMP houses, they sole source the contracts to themselves. Housing
Okay.
Corp's building,
company
those
from
they're
the
getting the
LA.
money for RCMP.
I
Those
guess there
houses,
was
that's a different
tendering
No, it's the
process.
same thing.
Totally.
That's what I'm saying, it's the Housing Corp, we're not talking about a different entity, we're talking about the Housing Corp. The same one that sole sourced themselves those contracts for the RCMP, gravy, 25-year whatever, just under our noses.
Downtown or RCMP?
I don't
Just
know- I
under
don't
our
know the
noses,
con-
I
I
don't
don't
Then
know.
now they're claiming they want to help us out here.
I
If they
don't
wanted to
know
help
the-
us out, they would have offered those contracts to people in the local community, wouldn't they?
I
It's just
don't
a
think we should
preposterous. Like
have
I said,
any
the whole thing is
arguments
just
about all
bizarre.
this,
It's
you
hard to
know,
understand.
that's enough.
But I guess it is a test for the community to see how well we work together to actually come up
Yeah,
with one
we need to work
vision
among
for the
ourselves
housing
here.
issues and how we move ahead on that as a community. Doesn't even matter who does it. I think it makes more sense that the First Nation head it up because most of the housing is gonna be related to the membership,
That's right, not the Housing Corp.
of the band.
LPFN should head it up, not the Housing Corp.
All we'll end up with is a plan for what are the things that we most need in the way of housing here. At that point, that's public information. Here's a report based on, actual going out and talking to people. Anybody after that, a private developer, First Nation, even local government, like
Even the Housing Corp.
and
Everybody, including
Maybe
the
them
Housing
too.
Corp, can bid on those
maybe
contracts.
them too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? This is what I'm getting at. We're not talking about another organization. We're talking about the same organization.
Yeah.
The same one that just sole sourced themselves, skipped the entire public tendering process, skipped any opportunity for the community. They just brought in contractors from somewhere else. Boom, slapped her together, done. Now, all of a sudden you think now they're gonna be here for us now? I don't think so. They're there and they're setting this all up so that they can do the same thing again and just get richer. It's just, guys, they're a predatory, they're not here to help us. They're here to get rich on those kind of contracts. Yep, that's what it is. They're a predatory corporation. And they're eating us. They're taking they look at what they did right there. There's the contracts, $1 million contracts right there. Just gone. It never even came in front of us. Anybody here.
Keep in mind that the CMHC, this is what sort of drove this community planning, is that CMHC has $60 million available territorial wide. They'd like to see all that money go into all the communities in the north. It's been earmarked special for the north. However, because they're a federal government program, they can't just take individual applications and base it on, well, this one developer thinks that we need, say, 5 or 10 new houses in a certain area of Fort Simpson. That just wouldn't cut it because how do we know the community actually supports it, wants it, considers it a priority? So until a plan, either done by Housing Corp ourselves, it's better if we do it, is there to point to the fact that, no, this is one of the areas that is a priority. The community's already delved into it, looked at it. So a developer, anybody privately could take that and go and apply for the funding. I don't see it as
Yeah,
being,
including Housing Corp, which is what they did.
yeah, I'm not so sure
Yeah,
about that.
they
though.
went and they did it. And like I'm saying, this is what I'm getting at. You're getting into a partnership with a monster that's just gonna eat your share too. It's like sitting down at a table like this, we're all sitting around here, and then there's another guy sitting over here who's 700 pounds and he's about 15 feet tall, right? And he wants to share your dinner with you now. Well, that's scary because there's only so much to go around and this guy's
That's
17 feet tall and they want it all. And that's, like I said, they just had it. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to pretend or imagine. You can see what happened with those contracts. They swooped in, sole sourced it to themselves and just scooped it.
Okay,
Scooped a multi-million-dollar contract right from under Noah's nose, right from under everybody's noses, gone. So
okay,
there's the same organ. Now they're coming back now saying, we were here to help you.
yeah. Well,
It's bizarre.
okay,
I said,
you
it's just
made-
unbelievable.
Well,
Like,
let's
who
just
could believe it?
made your
give it a
point.
try.
but let's,
There's no
Well, they
harm
already
in
had the
trying.
opportunity and look what they did with it.
Randy,
Okay.
that's enough.
well,
I mean, you're
we
becoming a
understand what you're
monster
saying.
too.
Now, does anybody else
But you
have,
like it.
I gotta-
Like
I gotta
said,
open it
I
up.
don't know if you like that. If that's what you like and that's what you want and you prefer that, like I said, that's where we part ways.
but that's fine. There's no harm in that. But, okay, now, does anybody else have any comment? I gotta let anybody else speak that wants to speak on this. And then I'm gonna,
It's me, Celine again.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we're not overstepping our boundaries here. We've always supported LKFN and their endeavors in their housing issues. And we're all aware there is a electoral process going on. And there is freezes on certain lands. And like Liza said, we don't own any lands in LKFN, but there is land set aside for First Nations. And as a village, it does not include us. That's their relationship with the federal government's with the treaty. So I just want to make sure we're not overstepping our boundaries. So if we could get some more clarification around that, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, all I can tell you is that I did go to the meeting, and it's a lot simpler than what you're saying. It really is just an offer by the Housing Corporation for the community to come up with a housing plan, and LKFN has stepped forward and offered to do the plan using a coordinator who will work with others in the community. It's simply an advisory committee. It wouldn't be that the village or anybody else on that committee has any override or veto on anything. It's just, let's gather some input, come up with what we think is a good plan, and then that's the end of it. At that point, it's up to others to take that forward and apply on the CMHC funding or try to solve the housing problem. But at least there'll be some kind of plan that was developed, hopefully in concert with as many groups as possible. It defeats the purpose if we aren't all together on that, because it'll be pointed to that, well, that's just a First Nation plan. If we're not part of it, it'll be used as an excuse not to fund projects that come forward by people, because it'll say, well, the community didn't work together. Maybe that's not the consensus. So I think we really have to support the project. It's by March 15th. We have to put in a support letter so that we can get this thing going. Based on what I heard at the meeting, this is just a cut and dry. It's an offer to do a community plan, and that's it. And if the First Nation's going to step forward and do the hiring and administering of the project, work with a committee that just invites participation by other groups, hey, that's fine.
It's me again.
Yeah.
You used the right words. You said we as a village will support LKFN in their plan.
Yeah.
And I think we should continue to use that dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I think we're doing.
But you just said that we're going to have somebody on the advisory committee when we should be just doing what we've done in the past, is support them. If they need any resources or information, we make that available to them.
Well, they actually want us to be on there.
Yeah.
So that the plan is inclusive.
Okay, so is it LKFN wants us on that plan, or LKFN was told by Housing Corporation that they want us to be involved?
Well, I think the offer is to do a community plan, and they want as much participation by all groups as possible.
That was not the question.
If I may,
Yes.
at the meeting that we attended, the Métis were there, the village, and LKFN, all three councils, and it was understood that the three groups would work together to work on this housing plan.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that, Liza. You just said that it was not from the GNWT and it was not from Housing Corp. It was from the meeting.
Yeah, the tri-council, where everybody was, all three groups were there, and they were all in support of this committee. So I still have to talk with the Métis. I haven't heard anything back from them, but we're trying, you know. It might not work out, but at least we can start trying to do something.
We gotta work together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like I said before, I have a lot of confidence in LKFN's coming up with a plan, and I still stand by that.
Okay,
Okay, let's.
so, you know, there's always concerns, but there you have it. All right, so I'm just gonna ask for a show of hands on the motion which reads that council support the community housing plan project. And we've kind of gotten the background on it. So show of hands. 1, 2, 3. Councillor Hassan? Councillor Hassan?
Yes, yes,
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, you're going to have to read that motion again.
Okay, it just says that council support the community housing plan project. But that just pretty much entails that the First Nation will be hiring a housing coordinator to generate a community housing plan, working through a advisory committee. I anticipate that the village would have a seat on the advisory committee. We're not directing anybody to do anything. We're simply there to support and give some feedback, I guess. Hopefully
Okay, you're
useful.
confusing me now. You just said the motion says that we support it, which I totally agree with. And then your discussion after says that we're going to have somebody sitting on the advisory committee. So what is it?
Well, it's all part and parcel of the same thing.
Don't
There's
you
another motion for appointing
understand?
someone onto the committee.
Right, and there actually is a separate motion to appoint somebody to represent the village on the Community Housing Plan Project Advisory Committee. So, but
Okay, I
When you're-
support supporting LKFN or the advisory committee, the village supporting it. I accept that and I support that.
okay, all right. So as far as that goes, you're okay with it? Just that part. The council support the Community Housing Plan Project.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we got 5 votes for, votes against,
Right here.
1 vote against,
Yeah.
and
If they had acted differently regarding that type of an opportunity, they would have had a different vote here, this council, but because of that behavior, I don't believe what they're saying. Because they behave one way and then they talk differently, I don't believe them.
okay. All right, so that's the end of that one. Now I've got another motion moved by Councillor Lafferty, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that council appoint Councillor, and it's a blank, to represent the village on the Community Housing Plan Project Advisory Committee. So,
That's Councillor Morrow put his name
That
forward,
was
didn't
the
he?
last, that was the climate change.
Why-
the climate change, we didn't
Why isn't
actually,
he declaring conflict on this?
Oh, yeah.
are you in
he's-
conflict on that?
No.
No, because there's no
Because he's gonna probably,
monetary,
Probably because of
his work,
from a business point of view.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
he may actually want to potentially use the
Plan?
plan himself later on, right? I mean,
Well, for
I don't know if
contracting, he's a
declared a
contractor,
conflict
so,
on,
yeah,
I guess it was the whole thing. I think this is what he was thinking, right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Councillor Hassan, are you interested?
I can sit on it, yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, well, I'll mark your name in. Anyone else interested?
I'd be interested in sitting on it. Hey, why not?
Okay, is there room
If
for
it's
two?
gonna happen regardless of what, why not?
I'm not
Well,
gonna argue with
A
everybody.
little bit negative.
Well, it's just that I'm, like I said, I call them like I see them. When they go and sole source a contract to themselves,
Let's stick with Hazan.
Yeah, we're gonna, I appreciate the offer, but I don't know if it would be, let's do this one first. The name was brought forth. Okay, I've got a motion moved by Councillor Lafferty, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that council appoint Councillor. Now, how could it be seconded, I guess, if he's not sitting in the room,
That's
right?
right, yeah.
So I'm gonna need another seconder.
Who moved it?
Okay,
Right.
Councillor Bellefontaine, seconds. And moved by Councillor Lafferty. The council appoint Councillor Hassan to represent the village on the Community Housing Plan Project Advisory Committee.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like this motion and to be recorded.
Okay. Okay. All right, any last thoughts on that then? On Councillor Hassan? All right, we'll have a recorded vote. Deputy Mayor,
I'm just wondering about the knowledge, like, for instance, typically, people who are appointed to committees typically have subject knowledge, like of the
Right.
subject area, right? Otherwise, like, here's the thing is that I've built 6 houses in Fort Simpson now. And I've been building for a long time, building homes and building houses and stuff, right? And the way that I look at it is that if there's stiff competition out there from Housing Corporation, if there's that kind of competition out there, are you sure it's a good idea to have that somebody sitting on the committee without the typical type of a knowledge associated with that industry?
well, nothing's stopping you with communicating your concerns to Councillor Hassan and letting him, if he does have the experience of sitting on the Housing Authority board
Well,
for several years. I know he's a strong representative. He was on that board and he stood up for a lot of things for community members and for bettering their housing. So I'm not afraid of him speaking his mind. And, you know, if you have concerns, I think that, you know, you can certainly tell him and he can be aware of those things.
I just, like I said, the whole thing of this, I guess I just have to separate myself from the issue because like I said, I just completely, I have no concept. It's discouraging and it's disheartening to me as a member of the community to consider that the normal value that you get from having a competitive bid process within the community in order to conduct those contracts has not been undergone.
Right.
It's not rocket surgery, guys. That's all I'm saying. It's unfair, it's corrupt, and it's wrong. And if you want to just start feeding these guys now, give them all of the license, give them all of our social license that we've, as a community, had to build up over these years, and now just hand it over to them. Now they're the planning master now, with all our information. They've got all of our local lenders. Now they can be our conduit to the federal government.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. And like I
So,
said, it's
one
going to cost
question.
us in the end.
One question.
Yeah, call a question.
Okay.
Let's
Let's let's get busy with this vote here. Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. What is this about? Is this the vote?
Yeah, this is the vote for appointing Councillor Hassan to represent the village on the Community Housing Plan Project Advisory Committee that would be working with the LKFN and their housing coordinator.
Yeah. I vote against.
Okay, vote against that one. Sorry. Okay. Councillor Bellefontaine.
Yeah, I vote for it.
Councillor Hassan, did you want to vote or are you gonna
No, I was abstained.
abstain? Okay. Councillor Rafferty?
Yes, I vote for.
Okay. Councillor Siviston?
I'm going to separate myself from the issue and abstain.
Okay. All right, so,
Abstains.
and Councillor Morrow is, well, did I say absent? I guess he's out of the room.
He declared conflict.
Conflict, I'll just mark that down. Declared.
Regarding the housing issue?
Yeah. He did, yeah. All right. So the vote is 2 for, 1 against. Abstentions are, they have no,
Did you call
oh,
my
sorry,
name out?
Councillor McPherson. I wasn't sure if you were voting or not. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I want to vote.
Okay.
Yes,
You're voting for?
Yes.
Okay, that's 3 for. 3 for the motion, 1 against, 2 abstentions, and 1 councillor was out of the room due to a declaration of conflict. So that motion is passed.
Just wanted to make sure you remember that I asked it for it to be recorded.
It's being recorded.
Yep. Yeah, no problem.
Alright.
All right. So, going through the rest of our agenda, 12 bylaws, there are none. Correspondence and information, there is none. Council matters and concerns, last chance to say what's on your mind. Oh, please. Started moving right along there. We forgot to bring back Councilor Morrow. Yeah, so, as I was saying, there's nothing under bylaws, there's nothing under correspondence and information. So we're on council matters and concerns. And, maybe I'll start with Councilor Lafferty and work my way around that way. Do you have any council issues or concerns?
The only thing, I've heard a few comments about, people are tasting more, chemicals in the water, the chlorine, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so that's the only thing. I just thought,
Oh.
we can get it checked on and see if they're doing the right amount. So that's all I've got.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe just update us on how often the water is tested for those kinds of things, I guess. It doesn't hurt. Are we still doing those, tests at the sewer treatment plant for
Every day.
every day now, eh?
Yeah.
For COVID, okay. Councilor Morrow, any council issues or concerns?
No.
Okay. Councilor Siddiston.
Yeah, you bet. I was just wondering if it's possible to write a letter to the Department of Transportation about the approach coming down to the causeway.
Right?
It's a horrible stretch of road, and it basically just, it could really, really be improved. I mean, I understand, a little bit of dips and woos and stuff like that. I've been in the north my whole life too, but there's no excuse for that. People come from, look around the world, right? It's not that hard to build a flat road.
Yeah, I know that the waves in the road are getting worse again. And,
They were built like that. They haven't been getting worse. They've just been staying the same. They were bad from the start, and they were built like that. The road's never been level. It's not like it was level and then it sunk. No, it was never level. It
Right.
was worse than that before, but like I said, it's just nothing smacks of these fourth world, what is referred to internationally as the fourth world conditions
yeah,
of the people who have lost their civil rights and are completely at the mercy of the government for everything. It's fourth world conditions, and that's what we are here.
I guess that's what we are.
well, I don't mind writing a letter, at least requesting more information on what their plans are with the road, because of the fact that, it is a bit of a danger.
It is. You bet it is. With an accident waiting to happen.
Okay, Councilor Morrow?
I would suggest mechanically stabilized earth. They use them for on-ramps for major highways. It's a way of building an on-ramp without cement.
Right,
Yeah, they just wrap it in a geotech and ram it. And it's cladded by cement walls. You don't have to clad it, but it's what they use for on-ramps. It's pretty stable.
of course, improvements like that to a section of highway prone to all this movement, it's gonna cost big bucks, but if we don't complain, we get what we deserve, right?
It's never moved. It was built like that. It was never flat.
That's true.
It just wasn't.
It's coming
It's just,
down the
like I said, it's just an
It's
excuse
coming down
from,
the hill.
I almost wonder why they didn't start further back and just push more dirt down and create a more even slope all the way down the hill.
It used to be a lot steeper.
Yeah,
I used to slide down there
right.
years ago. Oh, yeah, it was good. Steep.
But if council wants me to write a little bit of a letter, I'll point out the obvious. I guess the road's not in particularly good shape. The slopes are bad.
it's dangerous.
The corners are dangerous,
While you're writing that, could you add a utility road?
as in
For
some
the
place
heavy
where people can
traffic.
walk. Or
No, a utility road for the heavy trucks, the traffic.
Or
Or a
second
separate road.
access, a second access.
Now we're talking about the off-island, yeah, on the back of the end.
We talked about this our first year a little bit.
Yeah.
It was one of my things that I mentioned, was the utility road. The old utility road runs, Rose Construction bought that. And that's where all our heavy equipment's supposed to be operating out of. Every time you go lunchtime towards 5 o'clock, whatever, there's a heavy vehicle on the road doing less than the speed limit.
Okay, so you mean like once you pass the causeway and then you go off and up,
There's that turn off to the
Yeah.
left that goes up to the Rose Trailer Court. That's supposed to be our utility road.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's another question, I guess, right? It made all the more dangerous, like you say, equipment moves up and down on a regular basis, going up to the industrial area, and we're coming down a bumpy sloped road. And as the chip seal deteriorates, which it always does, people spinning out and everything else, it gets even more dangerous.
Well, nothing says fourth world country to people who have never been here before
Yeah,
than driving down and then, okay, I get it.
all right, I'll write a letter. At least that'll open the dialogue with the Department of Transportation. We'll start to see what they think about the road. How's that?
What about as you're going up the road there on the one side, to the right side, there's always a bunch of ice and water that forms on that one side.
Yeah,
Where is that from?
There's
Just
an
really-
artesian spring that comes out of the
Yeah.
hill there.
It's better water probably than what we get in Mackenzie.
Yeah, but it's a real danger, especially if somebody has an accident there, you know.
It's,
I mean,
Plug it into the village and use it for water. It probably save a lot of money in the waste
yeah,
treatment plant.
that part of the road, I mean, because my property is adjoining that, I gotta watch what I'm saying here because I don't wanna push on highways for something that's probably, my own personal issue, but it's certainly concerning just for people driving down or
It is.
up the hill, because I could see that if you went off into that, it wouldn't be good.
A couple people already have.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's been accidents there.
so I mean,
That's
dangerous.
maybe Councillor Siviston will work on a draft letter, show the councillors and see what they think, okay? All right. Is that it, all your concerns there? Tony,
Yeah, that's it.
okay, and, Councillor Belfontaine,
Nothing at this time.
Councillor McPherson,
No,
okay, Deputy Mayor, any council issues or concerns?
Yeah, I've been kind of isolated for the last year here. I haven't been going into town too often, but a few issues that came up through phone calls was that this new information about the variant with this COVID-19 that is beginning to show up in the provinces. Alberta and BC are neighbors. And just wondering, and through your meetings, Sean, is this 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 Moderna vaccine we just got today, the second one, is it effective against the so-called 5 variants that come up? And I think in Alberta there's 2, and then BC there's 3. If it's effective against it, and if it is, what steps is the GNWT Health Services taken to let us know if this vaccination is effective against the variants? And if there is, like, we don't have any information. I think we don't even know how many people died from the variants. So have you heard anything at your last meetings with HSS?
No, other than they just say there are no cases of the variant showing up in the territories. They believe that the vaccine is effective against the variants, though. But that's still up for debate, I guess, until they get more information around Canada and the rest of the world. But yeah, they're not saying anything about that, really, the GNWT representatives in the health department.
Okay, so what do we as a village say to our citizens regarding this?
Well, we just have to keep following the Chief Public Health Officer's advice. We continue to wear masks in public places. We get our vaccines, and
Don't travel.
we don't travel. We still quarantine on the way back if we do have to travel for medical or some other reasons. There's nothing really changed, and while there's been a little bit of talk about potentially allowing people to travel and not have to isolate themselves, self-isolate, there's no promises made. I think that's just something that is there for consideration in the future. They're not making any promises. They're not saying anything. They're saying just stay the course. That's the way to go for now. And until we know more, I guess that's all we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And so that's you're done there, Deputy Mayor? No more issues?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay. And Councillor Hassan, you're the last one tonight.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything more than last week. I attended the Regional Wellness Council meeting. It went good, and people were expecting the second shot of the vaccine, which I believe it started yesterday or today. So that's one of the things which it was discussed in the meeting. And for some questions that the Moderna vaccine, I believe it's one of the. That's what they mentioned, that we had Dr. His name was Ben Guthrie, and he mentioned that I believe it's one of the best vaccines that we could have. That's one. The second thing is in regards to the issue which we just discussed, the housing. I don't want to talk back about it, but I want to assure Councillor Sebastian that it's not rocket science. It's very simple, and it doesn't need a lot of knowledge more. I don't think more than the one I have to have a plan or to help the LKFN or to help the local organization which will be the focal point or the focal organization that will be working in this housing strategic plan. Like it's not contracts, and whenever there is any contract or wherever there is any conflict of interest, I can assure you that I will not be part of that, and you might come and sit, or anyone might come and sit with this group. That's one. And the last thing which I want to mention is about this project. I believe it's. I know Housing Corporation. It happened that they had a contract for the houses of the RCMP, and that's a different topic. Right now, these people, they came 2 weeks ago or last week. They came and they opened a new page. Let us have faith. Let us deal with them with good faith and see what's going to happen in our region. They might have a different budget before when they started building the housing for the RCMP or whatever. But right now, this is a different project, different plan, different people dealing with it. Let us give them the benefit of the doubt and let's work with them and see at the end of the day, we are working for the best of our communities. And as I told you, and as you mentioned, it's not rocket science. Before I came to Fort Simpson, I accommodated more than 10,000 people in houses. And you can go and check the United Nations Human Settlements all around the world. I've been all over the world dealing with housing issues, dealing with water, with sanitation, with public health, with vaccination, with everything. And wherever I think that I'm incompetent to do it, I will step down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, we do not have any in camera this evening, so I'm moving to the adjournment On the agenda, the motion moved by Councillor Rafferty, seconded by Councillor McPherson, that council adjourn regular meeting RM05-2021 at, I'll say
8:40.
it's 8:40. All those in favor? 5 here. Deputy Mayor? Did she just get disconnected?
Aye,
Okay.
yes, Rick.
Okay, and Councillor Hassan?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 7 in favor, none against, so the motion is carried and the meeting is over, everybody. Thank you very much for attending this evening.
Good night.
Okay, good
Good
night.
night.